The storm came without warning, as they always did on Virel 9. One moment, the frozen plain lay silent beneath a sky of pale stars. The next, the wind rose like a living thing, screaming across the ice fields with enough force to strip paint from hulls and hope from travelers. Temperatures plunged far below survivable levels for most species, and visibility vanished behind curtains of razor-sharp snow. That was how I found her. Or rather, how she found me. My name is Jonah Hale, human surveyor, contracted to map mineral deposits for the Outer Rim Alliance. I was 6 months into a solo expedition, my crawler damaged, my long-range comms fried by an ion burst 2 days earlier. I'd been making my way back to my shelter beacon when my thermal scanner flickered, just a faint anomaly against the endless cold. At first, I thought it was a rock retaining heat. Then it moved. I redirected my headlamp, the beam cutting through swirling snow, and saw a shape collapsed against a jagged ice outcrop. Slender. Humanoid. Barely conscious. Alien. Every instinct screamed at me to keep my distance. The galaxy was not kind to humans who acted first and thought later. But another instinct, older, louder, overrode the fear. No one deserved to die alone in the cold. I approached cautiously, boots crunching against ice. She was beautiful in a way that didn't translate easily into human terms, tall and willowy, with skin like pale opal shot through with faint lines of bioluminescence. Her hair, long and silvery, had frozen into delicate strands around her face. She wore light armor clearly designed for mobility, not endurance, and it was cracked in several places. Her eyes fluttered open as I knelt beside her. They were a deep, luminous violet. She tried to speak, but her lips trembled too violently for words. Her body was shutting down, conserving what little heat remained. "Hey," I said softly, holding my hands up so she could see them. "I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at me, unfocused, pupils dilated. Her species, later I would learn they were called the Lyri, were adapted to temperate worlds, not this frozen hellscape. Out here, without shelter, she was minutes from death. I checked my scanner. Her core temperature was dangerously low. No time to debate. I carefully lifted her, surprised by how light she felt, and activated my emergency thermal cloak, wrapping it around both of us. The suit's heater whined in protest as it tried to compensate for 2 bodies instead of 1. She made a faint sound, half gasp, half sigh, as warmth began to reach her skin. "Human," she whispered, the word barely audible over the storm. "Yeah," I said, adjusting my grip to support her head. "You're safe. I've got you." I turned back toward my shelter beacon, leaning into the wind with everything I had. Each step was a battle. The storm seemed determined to claim us both. Halfway there, my suit alarm blared, power reserves dropping faster than expected. If I didn't get us inside soon, the heater would fail. The shelter finally emerged from the whiteoat, a reinforced dome anchored deep into the ice. I nearly collapsed, dragging us through the hatch, sealing it behind us as the storm raged uselessly outside. Inside, the air was thin but warm enough to keep us alive. I laid her on the insulated floor, stripped off my outer gear, and increased the shelter's heat output. Her breathing was shallow, her limbs stiff with cold. Hypothermia, severe. I remembered my training. Slow rewarming. No sudden shocks. I removed my gloves and placed my bare hands against her forearms, then her shoulders, letting my body heat transfer naturally. Her skin was cold, painfully cold, but beneath it, I felt a faint pulse. She was still alive. Minutes passed. Then more. Her breathing steadied. Color returned to her cheeks, the opalescent glow of her skin strengthening as her bioluminescent lines brightened slightly. Her eyes opened again, clearer this time. "You stayed," she said weakly. "Of course I did," I replied. "I'm human." That seemed to confuse her. "My people," she murmured, "say humans are reckless. Short-lived. Too fragile for frontier worlds." I smiled tiredly. "Yeah. We hear that a lot." She studied me with quiet intensity, her gaze lingering on my hands, still pressed against her skin to share warmth. "You could have taken my equipment," she said. "Left me." I shrugged. "Didn't feel right." The shelter hummed around us, heat slowly stabilizing. Outside, the storm howled, furious and eternal. Her name was Elira. She was a xenobiologist, part of a Lyri research team studying extremophile life beneath Virel IX's ice crust. A sudden tectonic shift had separated her from her team, damaged her suit, and driven her into the open plain just as the storm hit. "I thought I would fade," she admitted quietly. "That the cold would take me before fear could." She looked at me again, softer now. Instead, a human came. Over the next day, the storm showed no sign of stopping. Long-range sensors remained useless, and my shelter's power cells would only last another 48 hours if the weather didn't clear. We shared heat, food rations, and stories. She spoke of the Lyri's ancient cities, grown rather than built, shaped by harmony with their environment. I told her about Earth, about snowstorms and deserts, about humans surviving places we had no business surviving. "Your species adapts," she said thoughtfully, "even when the universe seems determined to kill you." "Especially then," I replied. At one point, the shelter's heater dipped dangerously low. Without thinking, I pulled her closer, wrapping the thermal cloak around us both again. She stiffened for a moment, then relaxed. "You are very warm," she said, almost in wonder. "That's metabolism for you," I said lightly. "We burn fast." Her bioluminescent lines brightened, casting soft light across the shelter. "To my people," she said, "sharing warmth is an act of profound trust." I met her gaze. "Then I'm honored." When the storm finally broke, the silence felt unreal. The sky cleared, revealing distant stars and the faint glow of orbiting ships. Elira's team arrived within hours, their relief unmistakable when they found her alive. They looked at me differently after that, not as a fragile human, but as something unexpected. Before she left, Elira paused at the shelter hatch. "You saved my life," she said. "Not with weapons. Not with technology. But with yourself." I rubbed the back of my neck, embarrassed. Anyone would have done the same. She smiled gently. "No, they wouldn't." As her team departed, I watched the frozen wilderness stretch endlessly beyond my shelter. Still dangerous. Still unforgiving. But a little less lonely. The galaxy would continue to underestimate humanity, our lack of claws, our short lifespans, our emotional bonds. Let them. Because when the universe left someone helpless in the cold, it was often a human who stopped, knelt down, and shared their warmth. And sometimes, that was all it took to change everything.